I'm going to postulate that it's not the medication that is the only factor that helps with what they call in this world mental illness, but that it's actually the spiritual work that's really relieving the symptoms. Because what are the symptoms of mental illness? Paranoia, racing thoughts, hostility. I mean, there are a lot of them interrelating, interreacting, and having conversations with people who aren't there. Um, Imaginations, delusions, perceptual hallucinations, fears, then feelings, negative feelings. If you look at David Hawkins' map of consciousness, you'll see these are feelings that calibrate below the level of the critical threshold between positive and uplifting and demeaning and debasing, such as uh, shame, um, losing track of one's train of thought, and all kinds of distortions with the mind, like that there's a secret communication between thoughts. In reality, there is no secret communication between thoughts. A program of healing for mental illness. There is no the last thought communicates with this thought. There's no connection between them. You have one thought. So my diagnosis was a thought disorder. Now, they say a thought disorder can only be one thought. So the entire disorder can only be explained with one thought. I'm talking about it legally, medically, the state, my own experience, personally, as well as um, what's in the file, governmentally perhaps. I don't know. Some people say, yeah. So only one thought. So um, what I did was I wrote a book called Letters to the Moon. This has been my ongoing experience with mental illness. So I'm still in the process of writing this book, which is a very subjective account. But at the same time, I've also discovered, which is the other topic about spirituality, which I really uh, uh, which I believe on a certain level, but not really believe, more like see the proof and the evidence of, um, is really uh, what gives an awareness that is right prior to the mind starts thinking, right before the whole program of thought and perception and belief and agenda and motive and intention comes up. Say I have the intention to talk about mental illness. There's an awareness before all of that before all of that um, is experienced. So 90% of the people in the world, I don't really care about the diagnosis. They're living here. They're living where you're already seeing, here's a thought, here's a symbol. They're living in the moving pictures. So spirituality is about being in the awareness instead of thinking that you are the mind and the content. Yes? Uh-huh. So, I have some ambition, but you can't make anything happen. All you can do is be what you are. And so, to even say that something is going to come of this, or that I would be able to sort of change the way that mental illness scientifically medically is treated in the way that it's dealt with now in terms of symptoms is a far thought. It's a wishful thought. Um, but it's a thought, and that is the only thought that can be true in this moment, because it's a thought disorder. So it can only be one thought. If you try to trace it down to the cause of what the disorder is, if there's even one, or you can find it or agree upon it, you know, but to try to expose it, to try to shed light on it, what it is, what is known, what is not known, but to be humble about it, not to take a position or an opinion about whether one is mentally ill or whether one is misdiagnosed or what's going on with it, but instead of looking at it from that perspective, to instead attack the symptoms, so that when the symptoms come up, that spiritual technique can be used to surrender the feelings now. So whatever someone's mental state is, that they can find a path through the swamp. And that was my intention in this video.